Mahalo and welcome to the DOC, the discussion of culture, discussion of courage, discussion of community, discussion of commitment, discussion of craftsmanship, discussion of careers, discussion of communities, corruption, and controversy, or anything else that starts with a C. My name is Aliʻi Ana Studios. This show is created by myself and my daughter, Maximiliana La'akea Aurelius, and we're here to talk about controversy. This is a discussion of controversy. On this episode, we're going to have a discussion of controversy, a DOC. So this discussion of controversy is not about who the controversy is about. It's about how controversies are designed, architected, created, and executed for reasons that are 95% not pono. So where this all starts.
Major revelation tonight in a mystery that has consumed Hawaii politics. Lieutenant Governor Syliva Luke says it's possible she is the elected official suspected of taking $35,000 in an FBI operation. In an interview with
show in January 2022, Cullen organized and recorded a meeting between a lobbyist who was the subject of the investigation and an influential state legislator.
Are you the influential state legislator we've been talking about for the past couple months?
I did not take, Syliva Luke did not take $35,000 from any individual. We did have a get-together with Ty Cullen, and that individual and his daughter gave me $5,000.
So $10,000.
Yes, I can only tell you the truth as I know it.
Syliva Luke did something pono. And what I want to know is, why are people being punished for being pono? Why has being pono become controversial? Because being pono means telling the truth, acting with honest, pure, good intentions, and embracing the understanding of the aloha, spirit, constitution, and he aliʻi ka ʻaina ke kaua ke kanaka. Land is chief, and we are the stewards. That being said, the allegations and investigation started with a federal investigation on an individual that was exploiting COVID-19 money and overbilled them $7 million. Some of that money, they are saying, was donated, not just to Sylvia, a huge list naming multiple high-level politicians from a certain individual. That certain individual, over the course of a certain amount of years, donated to Sylvia's campaigns, 5,000 here, 5,000 there, so on. The feds prosecuted one of the people that were involved who were in the legislature, and the other guy was like a lobbyist, just disappeared. Once the feds couldn't locate him and he was in another country, the feds ended the investigation and handed it over to the General Attorney's Office of the state of Hawaii. Now it's there where they decide to tell the news to publicize that there was a influential, unnamed politician who accepted $35,000 in a brown paper bag. Who accepts money in a brown paper bag outside of the movies? So that's where controversies begin to reveal themselves to what they truly are. They are designed, political, or motivated out of personal gain. Digital media campaigns created in the reasons of exploiting, destroying, or influencing a collective opinion to greatly oppose the other opinion. When this information became public, they released a list which had all the politicians that this person who was exploiting the feds had donated to their campaigns for being a lobbyist. This list had literally every single politician that is of substance on it.
It's because he was a prolific campaign donor, hundreds of thousands of dollars to politicians at all levels of government.
And because she wanted to do what was pono, to aid the investigation and have it be over with, she publicly went on TV and on the record and said, I might be the influential legislator who received that $35,000.
I asked my campaign to take a look at any checks that we received from Milton Choi or his family members or his affiliates. And they did a deep dive and then found that we had 16 contributions from different individuals amounting to $25,000 in the period of 2014 to 2019.
But I didn't receive it in cash, nor was it in a brown paper bag. Who would do that? What politician that we're used to would go on live TV and tell everyone that she believes is a misunderstanding and an honest mistake, and this is where I think it's me? That is the definition of pono. But you see, when people see pono, they also see opportunity, and they also act in fear, because that being told now makes it real. It makes it a reality that politicians do that. And there's a lot of people on that list. That being said, why didn't any of those other politicians come forward and say what they did with their money? Because they're not pono, like Sylvia is. She takes responsibility, and she is there to earnestly help. That being said, kind of died down. And then as we approach election season, the news decides to come up with this new narrative.
Lieutenant Governor Syliva Luke is still under fire today after admitting to taking and then returning questionable campaign donations. Our Kristen Concilio has our top story explaining the scrutiny surrounding the
Governor
state's
Syliva
second
Luke says
highest
she made an
official.
honest mistake in not reporting thousands of dollars in campaign. Her team now doubling down that she legally accepted donations. In a statement, she said this was an honest bookkeeping error, and I will cooperate fully with the Campaign Spending Commission's review. The review comes as federal and state authorities investigate
And now she's coming forward. I'm wondering, why did it take
I
so
think
long?
everybody was looking for what happened to this $35,000. I don't know why we would come forward and say, oh, I didn't take $35,000.
Before the Luke
Some
meeting,
other
the
unique
prosecutors also
amount
said
or other
the
items.
subject held $3,000
Combined, the three
in
checks
cash
she
for
returned
his
total
help.
about
The document called that
$35,000.
a chargeable
Luke
bribery
insists
offense.
that's a coincidence
Have an obligation
and
to
misled
clear
people
that
to
record
thinking
and correct the record because, basically truth is all we have. It is.
All of a sudden, the AG, Attorney General, is saying that she might have to serve Sylvia Luke. All of a sudden, her governor, her partner, decides to say that he can't trust her to run the government. So he cancels all of his trips this month. But when he was traveling and Lahaina was up in flames, who stepped up to the plate? Who sat down with all the Native Hawaiian people? Who ensured the proper actions were taken to where nearly every Hawaiian was given a home, hotels were rented to house them, and the right people were held accountable? Not in the ways that I believe should have been held accountable, but they did get $4 billion by suing themselves, which doesn't make any sense, but I don't know. There's a lot more to that story. But Sylvia sat down with all the Hawaiians. I remember watching it, and she looked in all of their eyes and said, "What can I do for you?" And she absorbed every single empathetic understanding of what they had been through and what they had done. She held it down for the governor, Josh Green. And then to see him go and say those things about her as if she's not fit really hurts my heart, and I don't think that was pono. Which makes me furthermore understand that there's a lot more than to meet the eye when it comes to this controversy. Because I am a designer and architect of some of the biggest positive controversies in our generation's history. Things like Jason Momoa, things like Wira Mauna Kea, things like basically everyone I've ever worked with. Things like my daughter. Some of the biggest things we've known and have been engraved in our lifetimes and generation here in Hawaii, I have been behind, but never to hurt, only to expose truth and to end the hurt, whether that be for an individual not getting credit and achieving what they want to achieve, or whether that be protecting our land, protecting our people. When I look at this situation, I see something that is a very common pattern. Sylvia has never, ever once been accused of anything. Now, to accuse her, just connecting her name to possibly being investigated for illegal campaign funds is detrimental.
Even if the lieutenant governor is completely innocent, I think just this association can be difficult for voters to understand.
Now, the more you say it, the more it becomes reality.
First at 6, HNN investigates a man who gave Lieutenant Governor Syliva Luke a controversial campaign donation in a meeting with then bribery suspect Ty Cullen, a state lawmaker who later went to prison.
Even though it's not. 90% of controversies are designed and released by an individual who is trying to put someone else out of power. Both of them are in the wrong. It's just who can convince who of an empathetical understanding of who's right and wrong that wins. 5% of them are done where someone actually gets held accountable and the controversy is unstoppable and can't be manufactured because the truth is strong enough and everyone jumps on board. Like a civilian being shot by a police officer. Can't stop that. But people capitalize off of it. And then there's like the small percent of people who never, ever, ever deserved to be held in the same light of this type of bad pilikia. That's the position Sylvia's in. Sylvia has done too much for the people of Hawaii, too much for the government, too much for all of us on a daily basis to be associated and left to be fed to the wolves while the news, who's the kings of legally accepting bribes that they call sponsorships and perform their quid pro quo deceptive, controversial, counter unproductive, corrupt, bias journalism. For many examples I can show, and it's very easy to target who pays the news, their sponsorships, and why they don't report on specific entities because of it. For example, my daughter. HPH has quite a lot of influence. They even have a show on there called Hawaii Health, where they bring on all these Hawaii Pacific Health doctors and all this shit. It's just so set up. And it's funny that the Hawaii News Now and these news stations want to do this to her, which means that there's someone behind it, because the news stations don't just do this shit for no reason. They don't do it for ratings. They're happy to know when their angel investors or whatever, tell them, hey, I need you to run with this. These kind of conversations do happen. They happen in the, quiet, dark, closed doors of our government or within those studios, because I have been a part of those conversations. Am I proud of it? No. But I did my best to flip the situation to make minimize damage and secretly benefit who they're trying to bring down. So I'm just asking everybody to take that into consideration, because I'm positive someone extremely close to her who's smiling at her and helping her try and figure out why this is all happening is actually the person to blame. Because Sylvia is a threat to anyone in that office, in the Capitol, anyone thinking about running for governor. Because if Syliva Luke decides to run for governor, her Pandora's box of achievements and good-hearted, loving, kind soul and everything she's done for the Kingdom of Hawaii and the people, all of a sudden start to make sense in your head. And you're like, wow, she did all that and never said a word about it. She was humble. She was kind. She was so hardworking for 24 years. And all of a sudden, all the people that thought they're going to become governor don't. Again. So that being said, I just want to thank you, Sylvia, for everything you've done for us. Everyone's so quick to put you down instead of thank you. And until you've done as much as her, I don't think that you should say a word about her. Sylvia did not pay me to make this. No one asked me to make this. I don't have any political gain in making this. I just see a fellow Hawaiian, a good person, being treated unfairly. I've met Syliva Luke one time in her office. And the way she looked at me, believed in me, and treated me, I will never forget and always be grateful for. Because to me, that is a real politician. That is a real good person. So thank you. I hope you all have a beautiful day, and I hope you enjoyed this message. And be pono before pilikia becomes the normal, because it's real close to being that. Thanks for watching our first episode on the DOC. Mai ka'i and mahalo.